So in this segment, we're going to be talking about emails ignored over the safety of the Grenfell Tower cladding. And so, for anyone who doesn't know, there's an inquiry going on to what happened at Grenfell. First, they looked at the fire services and how they dealt with it, and I felt like that was the wrong move. I felt like they should have gone straight in for the cladding and dealing with what happened there, rather than picking on the firefighters who had an extremely difficult job at the time, and there was no way for them to get people out safely. They told people to stay in their rooms because they didn't know how bad the fire was, and things like that. And had everyone did a mass exodus at the same time, then people would have died on the staircases. So there was no way out. There was no way for the fire service to do like a very extremely good job, and save us like tons of people purely because it's the way the building was. And so, if we actually look at this article here, so a manager at the main contractor of Grenfell Tower's refurbishment ignored email concerns that the cladding could be combustible. The inquiry has heard. So, Rydon Simon Lawrence. So this article is quite confusing because of the names. So I'll do my best to clarify each one as I go through. So Rydon's Simon Lawrence received an email from the tenant management organisation TMO, which ran the tower, seeking clarity on whether the new cladding would resist fire. There is no evidence that he or anyone from Rydon replied to that email. And so what's happened here is the people who ran the tower, had some sort of power over, the decision making. Asked this refurbishment company, "Is the cladding safe?" The company did, by the looks of things, did not reply. And so there's possible reasons why they didn't reply. It's one, it needs to be charitable. They didn't see the email, or two, is that they weren't sure if it was safe, and therefore by giving an answer either way, they would cause themselves problems. If they say no, it's not safe, then obviously they would have to use a separate cladding because they've admitted it's not safe. Or if they say yes, it's safe, then it would come back to bite them here. In this thing, because obviously if it's in writing, that means it's very easy to prove something, especially for email because it's all saved. And so that's possibly why they didn't actually give an answer. So the first answer being charitable, maybe they didn't see it, and the second reason being more, deceit, or not replying to something because they were scared something would come back to bite them because they knew this stuff wasn't safe. So the second phase, examining the refurbishment at the 24-story residential block in North Kensington, West London, in which 72 people died. I thought the number was far higher. Okay. Anyways, the inquiry heard on Tuesday that Mr. Lawrence, so that's the guy who ran the refurbishment thing. Like I said, this whole thing is confusing. Maybe I should have written these names down. So the inquiry heard that Mr. Lawrence, a contracts manager at Rydon, received an email from Claire Williams from the Kensington and Chelsea Tenant Management Organisation, KCTMO, responsible for running the tower, on the 12th of November 2014, seeking clarification on whether the new cladding would resist fire. She told Mr. Lawrence, who was involved in the project between June 2014 and October 2015, that she was having a Lacanal moment, referring to the 2009 fire in which a high-rise residential block in London with cladding killed 6 people. And we'll look at that in a sec. There is no evidence that Mr. Lawrence or anyone from Rydon responded to the email. So she had emailed. I think maybe, in hindsight, had she been more aggressive, she might have got an answer if she actually called them and, took other steps. But at the same time, I'm not going to put an insane amount of blame on this person, purely because I think that would be unfair, but it would have to be looked at as why she didn't push so aggressively to find out if the cladding was safe, especially because she had prior knowledge of this. So this is something I've never heard of. This happened in 2013 by the looks of things. So the death of 6 people in Britain's worst tower block fire, this is pre-Grenfell, so caused by botched and unsafe renovation work and a council failure to inspect the building, as well as confusion and chaos during the firefighting operation. Inquest has concluded. In a carefully worded but ultimately damning narrative verdict into the death of 3 women and 3 young children trapped inside the Lacanal house in Camberwell, South London in 2009 this happened. The jury highlighted numerous ways they could have possibly been saved. The fire, caused by an electrical fault in a television inside the ninth floor flat, spread through the 1958 built block with suddenness and ferocity that terrified residents and baffled firefighters. And so this article will be in the description. But yeah, this is my bad. That's 2009, not 2013. This article was written in 2013, and so this was obviously pre Grenfell. So this person here running the, TMO, what was it called? The Tenant Management Organization. Clearly, she had some fears that something like this could happen again. So she emailed. Had she been more aggressive, maybe things would have changed. But I'm not going to put an insane amount of blame on her. The real blame lines with Rydon, I think, and Mr. Lawrence, and whoever else authorised the cladding to be put up. Inquiry lawyer Richard Millett QC asked him what he thought Miss Williams meant by a Lacanau moment. So Mr. Lawrence said that he knew there had been a fire at Lacanau some years ago, but did not know the specific details, or that it was relating to a fire in the context of the fire retardants of new cladding. He added that he believed Miss Williams' concerns related specifically to the fire retardants of the cladding on the lower floors of the residential block, but not the cladding overall. So I don't know if this is his ignorance, or if this is an answer that his lawyer basically gave him because he didn't want to implicate himself. But this is where it gets more interesting and potentially more dangerous for Mr. Lawrence. So David Gibson, another member of the TMO, said in a witness statement that he asked Mr. Lawrence if there would be a Lacanau type problem due to the danger of flames getting trapped in the gap between the external insulation and rain screen cladding on the outside of the building. Mr. Lawrence said he did not recall Mr. Gibson raising the matter with him in a meeting when asked by Mr. Millett. So what's happening here is, if we try and do our best to keep the names in order, so Mr. Lawrence is the one who worked for the refurbishment company Rydon. So there is somebody else here, David Gibson, who asked Mr. Lawrence specifically, will there be a similar type problem with the cladding, with the new cladding on the Grenfell Tower? So he's saying, Mr. Gibson is saying that he asked him specifically, will there be a problem face to face? And Mr. Lawrence saying, I don't remember this. I don't recall this conversation. It's very possible he doesn't recall the conversation, or it's very possible he's saying this to protect himself, because Mr. Gibson said Mr. Lawrence had assured him that the materials being used were inert and would not burn, which Mr. Lawrence denies saying. So Mr. Lawrence is saying he denied saying the cladding was safe. Essentially, he's denying things. So the word inert means lacking the ability or strength to move, chemically inactive. So I'm guessing it means that it wouldn't burn, basically. It's a strange, it's a strange term. That it's a very specific term. So again, asked by Mr. Miller if he had assured Mr. Gibson that the materials being used were inert, Mr. Lawrence said he would not give technical assurances unless he had the information from designers or specialists. So it's very possible that this dude here, Mr. Lawrence, had, asked a separate company for cladding for the building to refurbish it, and he had not really bothered to check if it was safe, or had it, is it measured to spec? Because I think, allegedly, the company, the cladding is illegal, but they did some stuff to it to get it past some checks, so it could be used. I think I remember Philip Hammond saying that. I'd have to find that article. But yeah, anyways, what we can see from this is that this inquiry is digging into the details and looking at specific people here, and that Mr. Millett could be in potential trouble here because he was emailed about the safety of the cladding. He was also asked, potentially, allegedly, face to face, about if the cladding is safe. So again, like, we know the cladding was unsafe, and we know how dangerous the situation was. So I do want to see, how this cladding came onto being on Grenfell Tower, and who authorised this, and how did they get past the regulations and the checks. That's what I want to find out, and I hope this inquiry digs more into those details. So anyways, I think it's worth leaving it there. I'll leave it there. Remember, like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.